I began by sketching out in a hard pencil, and then I overlaid a pale pink watercolour wash and a pale brown for the cone, and I left it to dry. But I ensured that from the outset the paint wasn't flat or even, and I'd actually lifted out some little areas to start to create the appearance of form. I then added a deeper layer of colour, and you can see me with a clean brush just softening the edge. So I've tried to create the appearance that one edge of the colour is hard and then the other is soft and slightly blended out. And the thinking behind this is that I want to create the appearance that light is coming in from the left-hand side of the image, and so all of my darker tones and stronger colours are over towards the right. And you'll see that the left-hand side of the cone is going to stay much paler and less saturated. And then you can see me building in the texture for the ice cream cone. And I'm doing a similar thing here, so I'm putting on little squares to create this sort of waffle effect. And then I'm lifting out some of the paint, so it creates the impression that none of the colour is flat or regular. Then I started to use some watercolour pencils, and this allowed me to have a little bit more control on the ice cream, and I was able to build in some extra colour and to keep it specific to the areas where I'd already got the darker paint. Now, it's really important if you're doing this that the paper is really dry. If you use watercolour pencils onto damp paper, they will fix and you won't be able to take away the pencil marks. Whereas if you use watercolour pencils over paint but onto dry paper, you've then got the choice of leaving them as drawn pencil marks or softening them with a paintbrush and turning them into a wash. And you can see by this stage I've really started to create this impression that the light is coming in from the left-hand side and all of my darker colour and tone is happening over towards the right. And I then used the watercolour pencils to build up some of the colour and waffle texture on the cone, and I used several different browns, and the pencils allowed me to get in the little corners so I could be quite specific with some of the lines. But I also added some general areas of tone. And what I decided to do was to create the appearance of quite a deep shadow sitting directly underneath the ice cream. And this helps to create the impression that the ice cream is something which is three-dimensional, that will cast a shadow as it hangs over the cone beneath it. And it's these things that start to make your drawings and paintings look that bit more authentic and three-dimensional. So you can see me here adding in just a general layer of tone to deepen the shadow, and then I quite like to soften my pencil marks, so I took a brush with some clean water on it and just kind of touched it lightly across the surface, and it just softens where I've drawn. And then you can see me do something similar working on the ice cream again, and that part of the paper is now dry. So I had several different pink and purple pencils, and I just built in a sort of deeper layer of colour, and some of my marks were quite specific, so I was trying to create a little bit of texture within the ice cream. But you'll see generally what I was doing is the marks and the lines and the edges which are over towards the right hand side, I've kept crisper and with more contrast, and then as it moves over to the left hand side I'm going to soften all of those so it looks like they're being diffused by the light which is hitting the ice cream. And again with a clean brush, I'm just dabbing it lightly across the pencil marks just to soften them a little bit and to bring the colour together. And I also lifted a little bit of the purple off the tip of the pencil and just put it on the cone. So I quite like to bounce the colour around slightly in a drawing, and it just brings the elements together. And then you can just see me having one last go of adding in some really deep colour. And when you're getting near to the end of your drawing, you can decide really how dark you can go with your darkest tones. And tone is very much about making adjustments and looking at what's in front of you and then deciding if you need to have a little bit more definition in some places. So I decided at the end I wanted to have a slightly deeper shadow underneath the ice cream on the cone, just to give that little bit of extra form and emphasis. And you can see at the end then I just do the same with the paintbrush and just dab it very lightly over the surface just to soften some of those pencil marks.